Hello students, welcome to class 10 English Fast Flight. So let's go through the chapters. So the chapters are a letter to the god. So this is the prose. Dust of snow, fire and ice. So these are the poems. So basically the chapters which are written in white color, so those are all prose, and in the yellow color those are all poems. The second chapter, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. A tiger in the zoo. Two stories about flying. First, his fast flight. Second, black aeroplane. How to tell wild animals. The ball poem. From the diary of Anne Frank, Amanda. Glimpse of India. A baker from Goa poured tea from Assam. The trees. Miss Bill, the other. Then fog. Madam rides the bus. The tale of Custard the dragon. The sermon of Banaras for Annie Grigory, the proposal. So these are the chapters we are going to cover one after another. So let's go through the first chapter of the prose, A Letter to God of Ncert class 10 English. So let's go through the summary. The story revolves around Lenko, a farmer living in a remote valley with his family. They rely heavily on their corn crop for sustenance. One day Lenko eagerly watches the sky, hoping for rain to nourish his fields. When the rain finally arrives, it starts as a blessing, but soon turns into a destructive hailstorm that devastates their entire crop. Despite their despair, the family clings to a glimmer of hope in divine intervention. In a desperate move, Lenko writes a letter to God, asking for 100 pesos to replant his field and support his family until the new crop grows. He addresses the envelope to God and mails it, displaying unwavering faith. At the post office, the unusual letter catches the attention of the employees, who find it both amusing and touching. The postmaster decides to respond to Lenko's letter by gathering donations from colleagues and friends. However, despite their efforts, they can only manage to send Lenko a little over half of the requested amount. When Lenko receives the money, he is dismayed and believes there has been an error. He promptly writes another letter to God, expressing his disappointment and requesting the remaining funds. This time, he cautions against using the mail, suspecting the postal employees of dishonesty. Oral comprehension check. So the question number 1. What did Lenko hope for? Lenko the farmer was eagerly waiting either a heavy rain or even a light drizzle. He knew that this precipitation was essential for the health and yield of his mature corn crops. Adequate moisture is a critical factor in ensuring a bountiful harvest. It helps the plant absorb nutrients from the soil, promotes healthy growth, and ultimately leads to the production of robust, high-quality corn. So Lenko's hope for rain was rooted in the understanding that it would directly contribute to the success of his harvest. So this is what is Lenko's hope. Question number 2. Why did Lenko say the raindrops were like new coins? Lenko likened the falling raindrops to freshly minted currency, envisioning the larger drops as 10-cent pieces and the smaller ones as fives. With his crops ripe for harvest, he held on to the belief that the rain would lead a prosperous yield. Thus, he perceived each raindrop as a symbol of potential wealth akin to a new coin. How did the rain change? What happened to Lenko's fields? The rain began to pour steadily, but abruptly a powerful gust of wind swept through, bringing with it sizable hailstones that resembled frozen balls. This hailstorm persisted for an hour, resulting in the devastation of Lenko's cornfields and the stripping of flowers from the plants. What were Lenko's feelings when the hail stopped? Once the hailstones ceased, Lenko's heart brimmed with sorrow and despair. He came to the harsh realization that the hailstorm had left everything in ruins, leaving no sustenance for his family throughout the entire year. The bleak future of his loved ones loomed before him, casting a shadow of uncertainty and hardship. Who or what did Lenko have faith in? What did he do? Lenko possessed a steadfast faith in God, firmly convinced that God's gaze penetrated even the deepest recesses of one's soul. This unwavering belief prompted him to pen a letter to God, wherein he earnestly requested 100 pesos to reseed his field, which had been ravaged by the destructive hailstorm. Who read the letter? So this is the postmaster who read the letter. What did the postmaster do then? At first, the postmaster chuckled, but he was quickly touched by the profoundness of Lenko's faith in God. Determined not to undermine the writer's belief, he devised a plan to gather contributions from his colleagues and friends. He also personally contributed a portion of his salary to the cause before sending it to Lenko. Was Lenko surprised to find a letter for him with money in it? Lenko's receipt of a letter from God containing money did not surprise him in the slightest. His unwavering confidence and steadfast faith in God assured him that his plea would be answered by the divine without a doubt. What made him angry? Upon counting the funds, Lenko discovered he had received only 70 pesos, falling short of the 100 he had beseeched from God. He held a strong belief that God could not have erred in sending him an insufficient amount, nor would he deny Lenko's request. Thus Lenko reasoned that the employees at the post office must have taken the remaining 30 pesos from the envelope. Who does Lenko have complete faith in? Which sentences in the story tell about this? Lenko's unwavering trust in God stemmed from the belief that God possessed omniscient vision and aided those facing profound adversity. The following sentences serve as examples of his steadfast faith. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope of help from God. Although the night Lenko thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lenko what he had requested. It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. Why does the postmaster send money to Lenko? Why does he sign the letter God? The postmaster was profoundly touched by Lenko's unwavering faith in God. In order to preserve this faith, he resolved to send Lenko some money. To achieve this, he gathered contributions from his colleagues and friends and signed the letter as God. The postmaster believed this was an effective way to communicate to Lenko that the money came from God himself, who personally endorsed it. Did Lenko try to find out who had sent the money to him? Why or why not? Lenko, unwavering in his faith, did not seek to identify the sender of the money, firmly believing it was a gift from God. He never entertained the thought that someone other than God could be the sender. His confidence in the Almighty was unshakable, as he believed that nothing eluded God's awareness. Lenko felt that God, having witnessed his plight, had graciously come to his aid in this trying time. Who does Lenko think has taken the rest of the money? What is the irony in this situation? Remember that the irony of a situation is an unexpected aspect of it. An ironic situation is strange or amusing because it is the opposite of what is expected. So the answer is, after counting, Lenko discovered only 70 pesos instead of the 100 he asked from God. He was sure God would not make such a mistake. Thus he concluded that the post office employees might have taken the missing 30 pesos, dubbing them as dishonest. Ironically, he ended up suspecting that very individuals who had aided him all to preserve his unyielding faith in God. Are there people like Lenko in the real world? What kind of a person would you say he is? You may select appropriate words from the box to answer the question. Below is one of the example of usage of these words. Lenko's unwavering trust in the source of money without considering alternative possibilities reveals his unquestioning nature. He doesn't appear native or stupid in this context, rather, he demonstrates a deep faith. There is no sign of him being greedy or selfish either, as he doesn't question the amount received. In fact, Lenko seems to be far from ungrateful. He truly believes in the benevolence of the giver. The situation might appear somewhat comical to an outside observer, but it is a testament to Lenko's strong faith. So basically this is a paragraph that we have written to use these words. So you can write your own paragraph, or else you can take the paragraph from the book to write and use these words. There are two kinds of conflict in this story, between humans and nature and between humans themselves. How are these conflicts illustrated? So the answer is, the story portrays conflicts between human and nature when Lenko's crops were devastated by a hailstorm. Shattering his hopes for a fruitful harvest, witnessing his ruined field, he succumbs to sadness. Furthermore, the narrative reveals internal conflicts among humans. The postmaster and his associates selfishly gather funds and contribute to aid Lenko, ensuring his faith in God remains intact. This act of benevolence exemplifies their kindness and generosity. Despite their noble gesture, Lenko attributes the money solely to God, suspecting the post office employees of theft. This suggests a lack of trust in fellow humans, potentially leading to interpersonal conflicts. There are different names in different parts of the world for storms depending on their nature. Can you match the names in the box with their descriptions below and fill in the blanks? You may use a dictionary to help you. A violent tropical storm in which strong winds move in a circle. Answer is cyclone. An extreme strong wind. Answer is gale. A violent tropical storm with very strong winds. That is typhoon. A violent storm whose center is a cloud in the shape of a funnel. That is tornado. A violent storm with very strong winds, especially in the western Atlantic Ocean. That is hurricane. A very strong wind that moves very fast in a spinning moment and causes a lot of damage, that is whirlwind. So these are the answers. So match column A with meanings of hope in column B. So in the next page we will see it. Will you get the subjects you want to study in college? I hope so. So this is wanting something to happen and thinking it is quite possible. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I don't like the way you are arguing, showing concern that what you say should not offend or disturb the other person, a way of being polite. This discovery will give new hope to HIV/AIDS sufferers, a feeling that something good will probably happen. We were hoping against hope that the judges would not notice our mistakes, wishing for something to happen, although this is very unlikely. I called early in the hope of speaking to her before she went to school, thinking that this would happen. It may or may not have happened. Just when everybody had given up hope, the fisherman came back 7 days after the cyclone, stopped believing that this good thing would happen. So this is the match from A to B. If the relative clause comes at the end, we just pull a full stop. Join the sentences given below using who, whom, whose, which as suggested. So I am directly going to the answers. So I am adding both the sentences. I often go to Mumbai, which is the commercial capital of India. So here we are using which. My mother, who cooks very well, is going to host a TV show on cooking. These sports persons whose performance has been excellent are going to meet the president. Lenko prayed to God, whose eyes see into our minds. This man, whom I trusted, cheated me. Using negatives for emphasis, find sentences in the story with negative words which express the following ideas emphatically. Now we will directly go to the answer. The trees lost all of their leaves. So if we are writing it in a negative way, not a leaf remained on the trees. The letter was addressed to God himself. It was nothing less than a letter to God. The postman saw this address for the first time in his career. Never in his career as a postman had he seen that address. Metaphors. The word metaphor comes from a Greek word meaning transfer. So let's go through. First one, the object. Object is cloud, huge mountain of clouds. The mass or hugeness of mountains. Raindrops, coins. The revenue generated from the sale of high quality crops. Hailstones, frozen pearls. Has the hue, texture and luster akin to pearls. Locusts, a plague of locusts. The devastation wrought by a plague and its aftermath. Lenko, an ox of a man. The robust and industrious demeanor minors the toil of an ox in the fields. So this section is left and we can discuss it in the class to continue. So this section is left and we can continue discussing this in the class. So in this section we are going to discuss about the poem Dust of Snow, Ncert Class 10 English. The way a crow swooped down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. The poet reflects on a moment when a crow swooped down snow from a hemlock tree onto them. This small event unexpectedly lifted their spirit and transformed their outlook, salvaging a portion of a day that had been filled with regret. What is a dust of snow? What does the poet say had changed his mood? How has the poet's mood changed? The term dust of snow pertains to the fine particles of snowflakes. The poet's disposition shifted after being caught in this impromptu snowfall. Initially disheartened, the experience left him feeling revitalized and cheerful, ready to embrace the remainder of the day. How does Frost present nature in this poem? The following questions may help you to think of an answer. What are the birds that are usually named in poems? Do you think a crow is often mentioned in poems? What images come to your mind when you think of a crow? Answer is, typically poets associate birds and trees with beauty and positive attributes. They often write about birds like parrots, peacocks, cuckoos, and trees that bear beautiful flowers and delicious fruits. In this poem, Frost debuts by mentioning a crow, a bird seldom featured in poetry. Crows are typically black with a raucous call, often associated with negative omens. Hence, the inclusion of the word crow in the poem evokes ominous and melancholic imagery. Again, what is a hemlock tree? Why doesn't the poet write about a more beautiful tree such as a maple or an oak or a pine? Frost references a hemlock tree known for its poisonous nature and small white blossoms. Interestingly, the poet opted not to portray a maple, pine or oak tree, which typically symbolize beauty and joy. Instead, he deliberately chose the hemlock tree, bypassing the more conventionally picturesque option found in nature, to convey his feelings of sorrow and regret. What does the crow and hemlock represent? Joy or sorrow? What does the dust of snow that the crow shakes of a hemlock tree stand for? The crow and hemlock tree serve as symbols of the poet's sorrow and melancholic emotions in this world. Conversely, the dust of snow embodies a natural source of joy and invigoration within him. The snow dust shaken off by the crow from the hemlock tree signifies the poet's initial experience of sadness and despondency, which dissipates as he transitions into a state of joy and optimism. Have there been times when you felt depressed or hopeless? Have you experienced a similar moment that changed your mood that day? Yes, it is quite common for me to experience moments of depression or hopelessness. These feelings can often be elevated or improved by positive experiences, interactions, or shifts in perspective. It's important for me facing such emotions to seek support from friends, family, and mental health professionals who can offer understanding and assistance. Remember, if you or someone you know is struggling with depression, it's crucial to reach out for help. The next poem, Fire and Ice, Class 10 English. So let's go through the summary. In this poem, the speaker is reflecting on the potential ways in which the world might come to an end. They present two contrasting possibilities, fire and ice. The speaker's preference leans towards fire. They base this inclination on their personal experiences with desire. Fire in this context can be seen as a metaphor for intense passion and longing. The speaker implies that the intensity of human desires could potentially lead to a fiery, dramatic end. However, the speaker also acknowledges another powerful force, hatred. They suggest that if the world were to face destruction a second time, they have seen enough evidence of human animosity to consider ice as a viable means of devastation. Here, ice symbolizes a cold, unfeeling, and destructive force, perhaps representing the chilling effects of animosity and hostility. Ultimately, the poem conveys a sense of contemplation about the nature of human emotions and their potential consequences on the world's fate. It raises questions about the destructive capacities of desire and hatred, leaving the reader to ponder the complexities of human nature and its impact on the world around us. Thinking about the poem. Question 1. There are many ideas about how the world will end. Do you think the world will end someday? Have you ever thought that would happen if the sun got so hot that it burst and grew colder and colder? This passage discusses various theories about the eventual end of the world. The author believes that, like all the things that begin, the world will also have an end. They present two scenarios. If the sun were to become extremely hot and burst, life on earth would cease due to the intolerable heat. Conversely, if the sun were to gradually cool, life would end as a result of absence of sunlight, which is essential for sustaining life on earth. The passage emphasizes the crucial role of sunlight as an energy source for all planets in the solar system. Thinking about the poem. Question number 2. For Frost, what do fire and ice stand for? Here are some ideas. Greed, avarice, cruelty and all. So for fire, greed, avarice, lust, conflict and fury. Ice, cruelty, intolerance, rigidity, insensitivity, coldness, indifference and hatred. Thinking about the poem. So this section is left to be discussed in the class. So this completes the chapter 1 of class 10 English. So we will continue in the next class. Thanks for watching this video.